Hey, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Racing Live. This is Melinda Russell. I'm your host tonight. My co host, Brett Timberman, is taking a few Wednesdays off to do he does a lot of camo work and like wraps boats and does all kinds of hunting and all that kind of stuff that I know nothing about. And I don't even want to care anything about, but he's really into it. And this is a busy time of year for him. So we're going to give some grace and let him have a few Wednesdays off. And so tonight you've got me and my guest, Ashton Thompson. Ashton, I met at the Women with Drive event, and there were a lot of really amazing women there. It was a wonderful event. And so it's nice to be able to meet in person and then have you on the show. Usually it's the opposite. Usually I have somebody on the show and then I meet them later in person. So this is kind of backwards, but this is a good backwards. So Ashton, welcome to the show. And why don't you start by you're welcome. Why don't you start by just telling our listeners a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I'm 22 years old. I live in Salem, Indiana, which is about 30 minutes north of Louisville. Kind of the heart of your dirt track racing community here in Indiana. I started racing when I was 6 years old. I started in quarter midgets, racing all across the country and stuff like that. We were pretty successful when I was back in quarter midget racing. I can't tell you how many wins I have because I lost track of them. But sadly, I got out of racing when I was 10. My dad lost his job. It was kind of during that recession time, so it wasn't a good time to be racing. So we ended up packing everything up, selling it, and I was out of racing for about 10 years, I would say. And then I finally got back into it because I was just driven by the sport. And, I was like, I really want to follow my passion. So dad was like, okay, well, you got to come up with the money to go racing. So he left it all up to me. And, thankfully, I've made it happen through sponsors and just people who want to support me. So here I am now. I'm a psychology major through Indiana University Southeast. So I'll actually graduate this December. So that's super exciting. I don't really know what I'm going to do with it yet. I kind of hope racing will just work itself out, but we'll see. It's always a backup plan to have that. But this year we plan on going to the Chili Bowl with AJ Felker Racing. I just made that announcement today, so that is huge. And then I plan on running with him some through the midget and then some sprint car stuff. We'll hit a couple USAC races towards the end of the year, but mainly like Power Eye and just local shows and towards the start of the year because it just gets crazy going to those USAC races every single weekend, and there's 60, 70 cars show up every night. So, but yeah, that's about me.
So you're gonna continue your racing career and you're gonna be busy. So when you started in quarter midgets, so those I am familiar with. My granddaughter started in quarter midgets, and you've worked you're doing other things now. So tell me a little bit about what's your favorite thing about racing.
My favorite thing about racing would probably be the fact that it is an equal playing field for everybody. Being a girl, nobody knows you're a girl until you take off your helmet. It does not matter who you are, what you're doing. It's just how you can drive. And that's what I love about it. Like there's no segregation in the sport. It's no girls team or boys team. It's everybody racing against each other. You are equally as capable as doing what he is doing or what she is doing. That's what I love about racing. And then the fact that you just can interact with so many people and impact so many lives. Like I could tell you countless of stories of little girls coming up to me and like wanting autographs and asking me, how'd you get started in racing and stuff like this? And, you just tell them your life story and say, like, I can help you out as in many ways as possible. And, I'm one of those drivers who like if you send me a DM on Instagram, I'm going to respond to you. Like I try to respond to everybody and give everybody the same amount of respect.
Yeah, that's good. One of my questions sometimes I ask people is are you independent or do you tend to ask for help? And my guess from your answer that your dad said, if you want to race, you've got to raise the funds. You're pretty independent.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll listen to everybody. The more information I get, the more knowledge that I have, So if I got racers giving me pointers here and there, like I'm going to listen because if they have done something and they have learned something from it, like I can learn something from it. So same thing with marketing too. If somebody's got advice for me, like I'm all in to listen. Like I don't care if it's an hour-long lecture or if it's a 7-hour-long lecture. Like I'm going to sit there and listen because kind of like with the Charlotte thing, we were sitting there and there was so much information just
Yeah.
to be absorbed. So yeah, I'm
Mhm.
one, like if you got tips, shoot me because I'll definitely need them.
Yeah. And I'm 60, almost 67 years old, and I learn things almost every day.
Yeah,
When you stop learning, you stop growing. And so I think
exactly.
being open to all those things and not thinking that, some teenagers think they know it all, and then they
Hmm.
learn that, their parents are pretty smart,
Yeah.
smarter than they thought. But,
Yeah.
being open to all those things, and it might be that some of the things are not, really don't help you or pertain to you, but every so often there's that little nugget, and it's like,
Hmm.
oh wow, that really is powerful and that really helps me. And that's what I look for. Like when we went to the event in Charlotte, there was so much information, and not there wasn't one thing that wasn't worth listening to and
Hmm.
taking notes from. And then I go back through my notes and I find these little nuggets of things that's like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is what I need to do. And so
Yeah.
yeah, love doing things like that. So I
Yeah.
know you travel. Do you have a
Mhm.
favorite racetrack?
My favorite racetrack right now would probably be Wayne County, Illinois. I actually won a B main there a couple weeks ago in a mini sprint. It was my first time ever in a mini sprint, other than my front yard. Like I took it out in my front yard just to see if things didn't fall off of it. And I actually showed up at Wayne County. We kind of just put a basic setup on it, didn't really know what we were doing. And I didn't make the transfer in the heat race. I got fifth in the heat race, so we were just one spot off the transfer spot. And so I rolled out for the B main, kind of same situation. I didn't know what I was up against, but the track was just phenomenal. Like they did great track prep out there, and we won the B main, and I was just smiling from ear to ear. Like it was just it's always a really hooked up track. Yes, it slicks off, but it's the same size as the Chili Bowl, so it's tight racing, small racing, and so I would have to say that's probably one of my favorite tracks right now for dirt. And then obviously like the Salem Speedway would be my
Yeah,
asphalt track. Because kind of
home
can't say
track.
no to the Salem Speedway. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you got to be loyal to the hometown track for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So what do your cars look like? What numbers do you have? How'd you pick your
Mhm.
number?
Yeah, so this year I'll be racing with Felker Racing. Like I said, we're gonna run number 37 because that was his number when he raced. And this year is also the 37th annual Chili Bowl. So it's kind of cool that we'll be running number 37 and then it's the 37 Chili Bowl also. But 23 has always been my number since I was grown up. I don't really know why I chose it. Everybody makes fun of me because they're like, Michael Jordan doesn't race cars. And I was like, yeah, but I really like 23. And so it's just been my number for so long. And, I'm happy to represent AJ this year, running number 37. Like, that's just super cool because he puts tons of effort into his cars. He built the chassis, he builds the engines, and, it's just a great way to represent him.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what?
Yeah.
So I'm going to correct those people that say Michael Jordan. So he never drove the car, but way back, I mean, this has probably been now 15 years or more than that. He
Hmm.
owned a motorcycle racing team way
There you
before he
go.
owned a NASCAR team, because my husband
Yeah.
and I love motorcycles, and we used to go to Mid Ohio and
Hmm.
watch the motorcycle races, the super bike races. And he had a super bike team, and so he has always loved racing and been involved in racing for a long
Yeah.
time. There's just now that he's a NASCAR owner, more people are aware. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
23 is a good number to have chosen for
Yeah.
whatever reason that it was, for
Yeah. Go
sure.
23.
Yeah. So is winning the B main, is that the best finish you've had? Or you said you've had a lot of wins over your career?
Yeah, so like I can't give you the exact number of when I was racing quarter benches and stuff like that, but this year I think we secured 6 top 10s, 3 or 4 top 5s, 2 top 3s. So this year was a very great year when it comes to points. We made top 10 for the Kenyon Midget Series points, and that's kind of what that's what I was looking at this year, was kind of like my growing year and getting comfortable with things. I didn't put any expectation on myself to go win a race this year. Winning the B main was super cool, but like it was a B main to me. I want more. And so this year, making top 10 in the points, it just helps add that to the resume,
Right.
and all those top 10s and all those top 5s and top 3s, because in racing, yes, it is really hard to win, but you got to be productive every single night.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And those add up,
oh yeah.
right now everybody's thinking about the NASCAR championship and points and that.
Mhm.
So we'll compare it to that. Look at the end of the year, and just one stage point here or there would have made a huge difference for Denny Hamlin, for let's say. And
Yeah.
so, being consistent and being productive and striving for those top 10s, top 5s. And there's only one person that's going to win that race, but there's 9
Exactly.
others that are going to earn points, or however
Yep.
many. So
Mhm.
that's a good attitude to have, for sure.
Yeah.
So what has been your most memorable moment? Has it been the win? Was it the B main, or was it something else that really sticks in your mind as far as your
Yes.
favorite moment?
So my favorite moment actually came in my first dirt race this year. So I am the first athletic ambassador for the National Ovarian Cancer Coalition. And it was our first race, showing up with our car wrapped in NOCC stuff, handing out hero cards. And I had this lady come up to me, well, actually to my dad. She's like, "Are you Ashton's dad? Like, can I meet Ashton?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure. She's in the trailer." So he went out and got me, came out there, and this girl is telling me her whole story about how she just got diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And she's like, "I never expected somebody to be here at a dirt track representing ovarian cancer." She's like, "It just has meant the world to me that actually somebody cares about like my disease and what I'm going through." And it was just kind of literally one of those life-changing moments that I didn't expect to happen. So I would definitely say like that moment right there this year topped out everything.
Yeah.
Because and we stayed connected through the whole year, and I got her connected with the NOCC, and now she's cancer free. So it's
Awesome.
just one of those awesome things that we made happen this year, and I'm super excited for what we have with next year with them too, because spreading awareness for that disease needs to be talked about more.
Yeah.
Especially in like the younger ages, like myself, like ovarian cancer isn't something that we talk about, and
No.
it's something that does need to be talked about.
So can I ask, and if this is too personal, just say it's too
Yeah.
personal, but can I ask why you chose that?
So it was back when I was searching for a sponsor for my Formula 4 ride, and I came across, because you see things about breast cancer. You see things about the cancers that are talked about more, okay? And ovarian cancer was one of those cancers that when I came across the NFCC, I was kind of like, what is this? Like I didn't know. I mean, I know everything in your body could have cancer, but it was just like one of those things that literally isn't talked about. And so I reached out to them, and I was kind of like, "Hey, would you guys like be interested in forming a partnership and stuff like that? Like if you want to come on board as a sponsor, like that's fine." And they were immediate to respond. I have these other foundations who are taking months, 2 months to respond to me, and it's usually a no. And they were like, "Yes, we want to do something because this is huge." So it was just their quick response, and just the fact like after I started talking to them, I realized how important it is and how impactful like my work could be within the racing community. Just like Melinda, who I met at Montpelier. It's just like those connections, and then just spreading awareness to kids in the stands. And I would say kids, but like young adults like myself in the stands.
Mhm.
Like my hero cards have like symptoms, signs and symptoms of like ovarian cancer. So like just by reading that hero card, you can be like, oh, I'm not gonna say like you have every symptom in the book there, but it's just informing the public. So
It's
yeah,
awareness. You're
yeah,
creating
exactly.
awareness about something that, like you said, isn't talked about a whole lot,
Hmm.
and it needs to be. And so,
Yeah,
and especially now, more and more women are involved in racing, and it's something that they need to hear about. So
exactly.
that's great. I love the reason that you did your research and everything about
Yeah.
it too. So that's awesome. So, do you have a favorite person that you like to race against? There's kind of like a friendly rivalry.
Yeah, so I would say this year it's probably been one of my close friends, Trey Osborne. He's a sprint car driver now, but We started out in the canyons earlier this season, and he's a 6'8", super skinny redhead. So you would never like if you see him in the grocery store, you'd be like, "There's no way you race cars. Like you play basketball or something." So he just stands out from everybody. He doesn't look like a racer, but he's a heck of a great driver. And he actually helped me set up my canyon later on in the year. And he's so good when it comes to mechanic stuff. Like that kid, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I walk outside, and he's in my garage taking apart the rear end. I was like, dude, what are you doing? And that's just what he likes to do. And so
Yeah.
he's one of those kids too who will race you till the very end. You know, he's not going to race you dirty, but he's going to race you clean. And he's gonna tell you, he's gonna put you in your place if you did something wrong. You know, if you throw a slide job on him and he doesn't like it, he's gonna come up to you after the race and be like, "Why did you do that?" You know, like I had the line. But he's just a really respectful kid, and I love him. And he's been really unappreciated. I guess I should say, like he hasn't got the sponsors, he hasn't had the funding. He's been doing it all on himself. So this year I would love to help him get some money to go racing because he deserves it. You know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, 6'8",
Yeah.
you're not thinking he's going to fit in that car.
No.
No,
No,
for
and that's
sure.
the problem. Like usually he doesn't fit in cars.
Yeah.
You know, he had to put a halo on his sprint car just to be able to fit. He doesn't fit in any of the mini sprints. His head sticks out. So I mean, he's
Yeah.
got the if he wants to run, he's got the best view of everybody up there.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I don't think it's legal.
No,
So,
that's probably not a good plan though either, for
yeah, no.
sure. No. So, there's all kinds of things that makes a driver successful. The right setup, a good car, good equipment.
Mhm.
But what do you do personally to have the most success you can have?
Yeah. So I try to be hands on with the car as much as possible. There comes to a point when I just gotta drive. But like when I had my own car here, I was working on it day in and day out. You know, I helped put the setup on it. I helped give advice. You know, my dad was my crew chief at the time. And it got to the point where I was learning so much, I was just like, okay, I got it. You know, just help me take the car to the track. But now since I'm racing for an actual team, like it's gonna be super helpful to have 3 or 4 guys working on your car every night. You know,
Yeah.
like I told AJ today, you know, I was like, I don't want to be hands off. Like I want to be hands on. I want you to tell me what setup we're running, how much stagger we have, what springs we have, because that makes me a better driver. You
Yeah.
know, to know exactly what setup. I just don't want to get in the car and go drive because I don't know how I can make changes as a driver. Then you know. So this year I told him I was like, I'm gonna be down at your shop maybe 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, just being there, being around the cars and stuff like that, since I'm not directly working on them. So just knowledge to me, like the more I know as a driver, the better I'll be.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So if you do have a bad day at the racetrack, how do you handle
Mhm.
that?
Usually I'm pretty calm. I don't really show my emotions that much at the track. Um, it's just kind of one of those things that I handle internally. And if it's a mechanical problem, I'm usually the first one on it, trying to figure out what went wrong. Um, and I mean, if it's a driver error, then I know that I gotta fix something. You know, I don't really try to let people know that I'm super upset because everybody's watching you. So
Mhm.
you have no idea who's gonna walk around the corner and be like, "Oh, I saw you, you know, you were talking bad about or you were talking bad about your driving or you were talking bad about your crew chief, that you didn't like your setup or something like that." So I just try to keep everything to myself until like I don't know, I'm just around my family or something. I can vent then, but
Yeah.
um I just try to stay positive whenever I can because every negative situation you can learn from, you know,
Yeah.
especially at the racetrack, you know, even if you get in a wreck, like
Yeah.
I would say like even if you got in a wreck that's not your fault, you still know for the next time, like okay, like just being in that time and place, you know, maybe not to run that line or not to
Mhm.
run or maybe to pass that guy because you know he's gonna spin out or something like that. So
Yeah.
it's just something to learn from.
Yeah, that's good. And so you're taking a negative and turning into a
Yeah.
positive because you're using it as a learning tool. So that's good.
Because
So
I mean the race car isn't gonna fix itself. So
no.
I mean you gotta have a quick turnaround there. Yes, it may cost you thousands of dollars to fix, but you gotta fix it. So it's time to
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah, for sure. So what's your favorite part of being a race car driver?
I would say my favorite part about being a driver is just being able to inspire little kids. Like, it is so awesome to you when you have kids come up to you and just they have the biggest eyes, and they're like, "What you're doing is just so cool." especially like little girls too. I wouldn't say like little girls, but kids in middle school, who have been told, oh, you can't be a race car driver. It's not possible. Like, you don't need to be doing that. And they just come up to you and you're like, how do we get into this? And well, you're like, well, I mean, you got to go get the money, but you can do it. If you got the motivation to go get the money, you can do it. So it's just, inspiring little kids like that. And then obviously just the feeling that you get driving a car is something like I can't physically explain to you. Like just the aurora that you get and just the feel that, when you're strapped in, the emotions running through your body is just, it's just awesome.
Yeah. You can't explain it. Sometimes you just can't explain it. They have to experience it for themselves, for sure.
Yeah.
So if a mom came up to you and said, my little girl wants to be a driver just like you, is it a good sport for her to get started in? That's what you would tell them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I would, first of all, I would probably give them my phone number and tell them to reach out to me personally, and we'll try to get something set up, because I know how hard it is coming from a non-racing family to get into racing. Like, it is a whole new world. I would say it's probably the hardest sport to get into. Like basketball, softball, football, like you can go to the store, you can buy a basketball, football, whatever, and go play a local sport at your school. But racing is a totally different game. Yeah. And you got to almost know somebody in the sport to get started. So that's why, like, I'm so willing to give anybody my phone number. Like, give me a call, give my dad a call. Like, we'll sit down, we'll talk to you about how you get started, like how much an estimated cost will be, and like what could be the best route for you. Because I know with quarter midgets now, they have like an arrive and drive thing where you pay like $20, you show up at the track and test. We didn't have that back when I was started racing. So that is a great tool for kids to get started, because you could literally go like the mini Indy, pay $20, have your kids sit in a car, and if they don't like it, they don't like it. You're not out $3-4 grand buying 2 quarter midgets. So I love the QMA world. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I do too. I love seeing those kids do that. Yeah. So if I ask your crew or the team that you're going to drive for 3 words that would describe you, what would they say?
I would probably say courageous for sure. Maybe a little crazy, and hopefully a soft heart. I wouldn't say like crazy in a bad way, but like I was talking to AJ, who is the owner, and he was like, well, what do you think of Big Salem? And I was like, well, I thought it was slow. He's like, well, you're crazy if you think Big Salem's slow, because I tested a stock car earlier out in the year, and we're averaging over 100 miles an hour, but coming from a midget to a stock car, it feels a lot slower. And so like I got out of the car and they asked me how I thought, and I was like, I think it's slow. And they were like, well, you're crazy. So I mean, I'm just crazy in a way that, I'm not scared. I'm not scared to run up top. Yes, we're gonna have a big one day, and hopefully it's nothing bad, but it's just something in the sport you can't be scared, or you're not gonna do good.
If you drive scared, you might as well not do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So do you have somebody that inspired you? If nobody in your family raced, what is it about, or who is it that inspired you to get involved?
Yeah, so my dad and grandpa actually raced. My grandpa raced mini sprints. My dad raced mini sprints and late models. So, racing has just been in the family forever. But my dad actually got me into it when I was 6. It was kind of one of those conversations like, what do you want to do this summer? Because you're not just sitting doing nothing, And so he got me a quarter midget, and he, I would say he really lit the fire for me when I was younger. He showed me what racing was, going to the racetrack every weekend, having those racing buddies, just traveling, be with your family, stuff like that. But obviously Lynn St. James was one of those people that I just looked up to when I was little. She really set the bar pretty high.
Yes, she did. Yeah, for sure. So, what's something that when you look at your driving style, or what is something that you really feel like you need to improve on?
I would definitely just say right now is being comfortable. I'm pretty hesitant when it comes to some things, mainly because, I've had my own car and I know what the expenses are if you wreck it. I know like how much time and effort it is. But now since I'm driving for AJ, one of the first things he told me was, he's like, don't be scared to wreck the car. He's like, we can fix it. Like, when you're scared about wrecking a car, you're not going to drive good. Kind of like what you said. If you're scared, you're not going to drive good.
Right.
And so that's
Right.
just kind of been my thought process that I need to change, is the fact that we need to stop worrying about money and just go drive and do good. So I would definitely say that moving forward, which, I that's not going to be a hard thing to change. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
give it all I got now. But yeah,
Right.
that's definitely been one of my problems of the past, is the fact that I have been hesitant sometimes. I'm not gonna throw it in there because I know of what could happen, and I just haven't had the funds to really fund my racing career like
Hmm.
it needed to be. We had the bare minimum to go, but we didn't really have any cost set aside if we blow a motor or if we tear a rear end out of a car. It's that type of stuff.
I mean, that's so many drivers out there.
Yeah,
You are not alone. I mean, that's
yeah,
probably the majority. And so,
hmm,
a lot of people are in that same boat, and it's not getting any easier for sure. But
no,
it's good to know that you have the confidence from your owner that you're able
yeah,
to go out and really drive for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So, what's your goals for your racing career?
Yeah, so obviously going to the Chili Bowl has been a dream of mine since I was younger, so that is huge to be able to go this year. And I know how prestigious the Chili Bowl is. We're going in there with almost, I have zero expectation for myself. I kind of just want to go to show up. We do good, we do good. We do bad, we do bad. Like it's okay. But one of my main goals would be to go to the World of Outlaws one day and
Yeah.
run a 410 sprint car. That would just be awesome. I used to think that I was gonna make it to IndyCar and, race Indy, stuff like that, but the reality of it, if you're not in an open wheel car by 22 years old, if you're not racing Indy Lights right now, like, the reality of it, you're probably not gonna get there. So I've just, formed a passion for open wheel racing, midgets, sprint cars, stuff like that. So I would love to get to the World of Outlaws one day.
Yeah, I'd love to see you there for sure because
Yeah.
there's no women
Nope, there's
women in
not.
that.
Nope. And that's one of the series that there isn't any women.
I know.
Um, and it
It's
needs to
sad.
change for sure. Yeah.
Needs to change for sure.
Mhm.
So, social media, how do you use social media to your advantage? And then how can people find you to follow you on social media?
Yeah. So I have Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, basically all of the above. But social media is huge because, kind of like that with the NOCC deal, you can connect with people who have ovarian cancer that live in California, and now they're your biggest fan. So social media is awesome because just you can connect to a whole new world of people, and you get on there every 3 days, post a new picture of racing, you get new followers every day. Like, I gain about 50, 60 new followers every single day just because of using hashtags and stuff like that. So if you want to check out my Instagram, it's Ashton Thompson Racing 23. In Facebook, you can go from my Instagram to my Facebook, same thing, Ashton Thompson Racing 23, or there's an official fan page of Ashton Thompson Racing. And then TikTok is the same thing. I have LinkedIn too. If you have any business people on here who want to go follow me on LinkedIn, I have a
Okay.
LinkedIn.
All
Yeah.
right. Yeah, sounds good. So you're connected, so we'll be able to find you
Hmm.
pretty easily. So that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. So, I focus on women in motorsports. So, do you think there's any or benefits or challenges, or both, in being a woman involved in racing?
So obviously, you do have the benefit of being a minority. The challenging part that I've seen is the fact that it is a lot harder to gain respect from guy drivers. I'm not going to say that they look at you indifferently, but it's almost like you got to prove yourself to them, for them not to want to take you out because they got that mentality that, oh yeah, you're a girl, you got the money, you can't drive, you know. And so it's just kind of that thing that I would say is a challenge. It's the challenging part is the fact that you have you have so much on your plate now. Like you've got to prove yourself to people because you've got people out here, I had the same mentality when I was at a racing. Like, if you see Danica Patrick wreck in a NASCAR, she wrecked because she's a girl. She didn't wreck because of her crew or something like that. So people don't see you as a driver; they see you as a girl, and you have
Mhm.
that stigma that you have to work through. So I would definitely say that's the most challenging part right now, is just
Yeah,
proving yourself.
I think that's true of a lot of women.
Hmm.
Is it's the fans love them. Usually, the fans love the women drivers and that, and and that, but it's getting, especially some of those older drivers, to get respect from them is a little bit tougher for sure. Yeah. Now, I didn't ask you this, but do you race against very many other women?
So I would say on average, maybe one or two a night. It kind of just depends on what I'm driving and where we're at. I raced a mini sprint earlier in the year. I raced against Kayla Roel, who's 14 years old. She's a great mini sprint driver. And she's definitely going to be one of those drivers who move up the ranks really quickly. We had another female in my Kenya Midget series. She was pretty young too. But it just depends on where you go. You know, like if we go to the Chili Bowl, there's probably going to be 25, 30 of us there.
Right.
But then there's also like 400 drivers there. So we're still the minority, but
Yeah.
you know, there's a decent amount there. And hopefully USAC does something really cool for all the girls who are going out there this year, because I think we will set a record number of female drivers at the Chili Bowl this year.
Yeah, I do too.
Mhm.
I think it's going to be a big number of girls this year for sure. So do you do any kind of iRacing or that kind of thing to make you a better driver?
Yeah, so I don't have the greatest of sim setup. I kind of have the basic. Like last year when I was like kind of getting used to iRacing, um, you know, I went to Amazon, just bought kind of like the basics I needed, but it's really hard to get a feel for an iRacing midget compared to a real midget or a sprint car. Like you don't have the foot pedal locations, you don't have the steering feedback. It's just kind of different. Like it's great for stock car driving, but with open wheel driving, it's a little different. But yeah, I do have iRacing. I get on there when I have nothing else to do and stuff like that. Or if we're going to a new track, it's a great way to learn a new track. And just kind of get a feel for the surroundings and stuff like that. Because the environment on iRacing is pretty similar to real life. You know, they got the trees, they got the fans, they got the stands. You know, it looks the same.
Right. So one of our, I'm going to call her our number one fan is that listens to us. She wants to know, is there a female driver you inspire to be like, and what makes her stand out from the others?
Yeah. So I would say one of my close friends who were at Charlotte would be Taylor Ferns. Taylor Ferns is a great driver, and I met her up at Anderson, Indiana, when we were racing a midget up there, and she was racing a sprint car. And she's just one of those down to earth people. You know, she's gonna tell you what's right and what's wrong straight up. She's not gonna sugarcoat anything. And I hope to be like her one day. You know, obviously racing a sprint car, but just being real with people. You know, and she was real with me. And you know, she was at Charlotte, and she knows what she needs to do to make her racing career work out, and she's also a lawyer, so like she's gone to school. She's done the hard stuff too, so she knows what it takes. So definitely Taylor. I love Taylor.
Yeah, and you know she's from Michigan, where I live.
Yeah.
She actually raced. There's a little track where my granddaughters race, asphalt track in Galesburg, Michigan. And that's where my computer's sliding. That's where my grandaughters race, and so we go there a lot. And so they were there like as a special, you know, those kind of cars. And so so awesome. And then we interviewed her for the magazine, and so she's been in the magazine, and she's going to be on our show here in December. So you'll be able to listen in to her in December. So I don't have any other racing type questions, but I usually ask some little fun, quick answer questions so we can find out more about your favorite things. Are you up for that?
I'm down.
Okay. All right. So what's your favorite food?
Probably I would say pizza or steak, because you can't go wrong with either of those. Favorite restaurant would definitely be Texas Roadhouse. Like,
oh yeah.
You cannot go wrong with Texas Roadhouse.
Yep. I love their rolls. They have the best rolls for sure. What's your favorite color?
Probably blue.
Favorite go ahead.
Blue just matches everything.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Favorite animal?
Probably dogs.
Favorite place to go on vacation?
Definitely Disney World.
Okay, you're a Disney girl. I'm going to have to hook you up with my daughter. She's a travel agent, and she specializes in Disney. And she knows everything. In fact, she's going there tonight. She's leaving Phoenix tonight to go to Disney World. So yeah,
I love Disney.
Oh my gosh, she goes once a month or so. It's crazy, but it is part of her job. But anyway, at least that's what she says. We all It's just because she likes to go there, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
What's your favorite number?
23.
Favorite candy?
Definitely Airhead Extremes.
Okay. Do you have a favorite movie, actor, or actress?
My favorite movie would probably be Rush. Rush came out in like 2014, and I was just in awe of that movie. Like
Okay.
just how Formula One was back in the day and stuff like that. So definitely Rush. And then, I don't have a lot of time to watch movies, but
No.
when I can, probably any Disney movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You're definitely the Disney girl then, for
Yes.
sure. So, what kind of music do you listen to?
Probably country.
All
And
right.
yeah.
You have a favorite artist?
Mm, I mean, I really like. I wouldn't say I'm like a T Swift girl, but I really like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, Florida Georgia Line. Back when they were still together, I really liked them.
Yeah. So, you know what? When you said Taylor Swift earlier in the conversation today, when you were talking about your fans,
Hmm.
she went through my mind because she is one of the best
Yeah.
stars, and she's a huge star that loves
Hmm.
her fans. And so
Yeah.
when you were talking about that, I was thinking, oh, she's like Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift
Yeah.
loves her fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So do you have a favorite professional race car driver?
I really like Connor Daly.
Oh, I do too.
Will Power.
Mhm.
Um, Basically any IndyCar guys. I like NASCAR. I like Chase Briscoe. Chase grew up in Mitchell, Indiana, which is literally like 20 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
And I had one of his sponsors on board Texicon this year. And so Chase like Taylor, he's one of those down to earth guys. He'll
Yeah.
tell you straight up.
Yeah, that's true. He's a good guy.
Hmm.
What's your favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Christmas. Yeah.
Hmm.
When people say Halloween, I say, "Oh, I hate Halloween." But Christmas, yeah, I love
Yeah.
Christmas too. Yeah, for sure. So, what's your favorite thing to celebrate?
Um, Honestly, I try to do like we try to go to the Indy 500 every year. Um, and the 500 is just a really fun thing to go to every year. So honestly, I would say the 500 the whole month of May, like
Yeah.
we're celebrating the whole month of May.
So I went to my first Indy 500 this year,
Really?
and I have cousins that live in Carmel, and I have a
Hmm.
cousin that lives in Greenwood. So on either
Okay.
side of Indy, they've lived there
Yeah.
forever. They've lived in Indiana forever. They'd never been to the Indy 500. And so
That's
I
cool.
said, okay, I reached out to them and I said, I'm coming to the Indy 500 this year. Anybody that wants to go, let me know and we'll get tickets. So
Hmm.
there were 8 of us. We went to the Indy 500 together, and it's a spectacle. It's just a
Yeah.
spectacle. And the race was so good because I won, at the very end. And here we
Hmm.
thought Scott Dixon was going to win, and we thought this one was
Yeah.
going to win, and then it was just a crazy ending. And so everybody should go there at least once.
Oh
The
yeah.
the leaving there and the parking and the leaving was horrendous, but absolutely that's a
But
race that everybody should go to.
it's almost like one of those situations where yes, you park a mile away, but like you're not mad about it. Like you're still
It's
okay
going to
to
be
walk.
part of it. You
Yeah.
just know that
Yeah.
there's 100 and
Exactly.
how many hundreds of thousands of people are there.
Hmm.
They're all
Yeah.
in the same boat. So yeah, for
Exactly.
sure, absolutely. So you probably don't get a chance, like you said, to watch much TV. But do you ever binge watch anything like Netflix or anything?
I used to I watched all the Stranger Things. Like when Stranger Things came out, like I was all into Stranger Things. But I don't really get on Netflix a lot, but I would say definitely if there's going to be any Stranger Things released, I will be watching Stranger Things.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah.
I've watched some things on Netflix, but I just recently finished the F1 show. It
Hmm.
took me a while to get through it because I don't sit down and really binge much.
Yeah.
But I did get through that, and so now I'm working on the USA show about the NASCAR drivers. But yeah,
Yeah.
I can't really binge very much. So anyway.
If they come out with anything with IndyCar, I will definitely be watching that, like binge watching that, like for
Oh
sure.
yeah. Well, I love the shows that let you see the drivers for who they really are.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think that's why, F1 has gotten so popular because it's not that the racing's changed. It's that you feel like, oh, I really know this driver or that driver, and I don't like this driver. I didn't like his crew
Yeah.
chief or whatever. And so you really feel like you know more about them. And I like those kind of shows where you really, can get to know people. So yeah, that's good. Well, I don't have any other questions for you, Ashton. You've been a great guest and interview. Is there anything that I haven't asked you about? Oh, I know we talked about the cancer being on the car. Is there anything else that you're going to be at PRI, and you're going to be in a couple different booths there. So that'll probably be on social media, but tell us where you're going to be.
So I will be at PRI December 8th through the 10th, I believe. I will be at a couple different booths, signing autographs, things like that. I don't know exactly how many booths I'll be at, but I know I'll be with Evolve Lubricants. Evolve Lubricants is a plant-based lubricant company out of California. So they make plant-based oil, plant-based gear oil, all of the above. And what's really cool about that is the fact that it does work. Like, believe me when I tell you that it does work. Like, we used it. We actually have more horsepower, believe it or not. So it is something that is evolving, and I would love to see USAC or somebody pick it up as one of their national oil sponsors and stuff like that, because it is really cool. Like, you can literally take it and dump it out on the ground, and you don't have any environmental issues. Like, it's just going to soak up, and then plants are going to grow with it one day. But it's one of those things that it is super cool, the engineering behind it. So I'm excited to be with them this year at PRI.
Okay, awesome. And like I said, I'm sure you'll put it on social media where you're going to be and when it gets closer, so that people can stop by and say hello. And I'll try to do that as well and see you when I'm there. So that's awesome. Ashton, you've been a very good guest. You've answered all my questions. And it was so nice to meet you in person, and then now have you on here. And so make sure that you stay in touch and keep us aware of what you're doing as far as your racing. And we always say this at the end. Brett usually says this, but I have to do it for him now. We're Women's Motorsports Network is a family. The people that we interview are family to us. And so welcome to the family.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
So that was Ashton Thompson. She's a great example of a driver, a woman in motorsports, someone who cares about her fans, someone who wants to encourage those young women that are out there, those young girls, to be part of motorsports. And so we love sharing the stories of, young women like this who are good mentors for people, that are good examples for women in motorsports. And so I was so glad that I got to meet her at the Women with Drive event in Charlotte, probably about a month or so ago now, and that she was able to be on the podcast with us tonight. So share this podcast with your friends. Let Ashton's story get out there. Maybe there's somebody else that be like, I want to sponsor a young woman like that, because we can always use more marketing partners to help us get where we need to go. So thanks for listening, you guys, tonight. I'm actually in Arizona. I'm staying with one of my daughters this week. Next week, I'm going to stay with the other daughter. I have my two youngest daughters live out here with their families, and I'll be at the NASCAR race on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And lucky enough, I was able to get a VIP hot pass, so I'll be in the garages and on pit lane and that, which is the best place to be for me. That's where I want to be. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm loving the weather out here, and just appreciate everybody listening and sharing our show. So I'll talk to you soon, and I'll see you at the track.